Hey, good morning. My name is Sandy McDonald, and I'm the Director of the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. And I want to welcome you this morning, whether you are a prime contractor, a subcontractor, one of our CBEs, SBEs, or whether you're just someone interested in knowing what the Office of Economic and Small Business Development here in Broward County is all about. At this time, I'll certainly start off by asking all of you to remain safe and to do everything that you need to do for yourself, your business, and your families to be assured or to assure yourself that you can sustain and get through this COVID, get through this 2020, and be around to work with us as we move the county forward. This morning, I want to give a introduction to some and a reminder to others of exactly who I am and who this office is on behalf of the county and behalf of our small business program. And I did realize, and I want to thank a couple of contractors who I spoke with about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. I haven't really done this since I first got here, 7 years. I've been in Broward County now 7 years as the Director of the Office of Economic and Small Business Development. And this seemed like a very good time to come and speak to our prime contractors primarily and go over the county's program, answer some of the questions and give some of the corrections to misinformation. And again, what I mean by answer some of the questions, from things that I've been asked over the last year and a half. A lot of that is what made up today's presentation. I am going to encourage you, though, to definitely reach out to me and my staff one-on-one. If you have additional questions beyond this presentation will be made available on our website so it can always be seen. You can pass it on to those who may have missed it. But instead of doing a lot of Q&A when I'm done, I definitely I encourage you, reach out to me directly as a prime contractor, or for those who've been working with the county, reach out to my small business specialists, those people you work with on a regular basis. If you have any questions or concerns, not only about the presentation, but more importantly, about your role, your responsibility, and your participation with our program. So again, I just want to slowly share information with you today to make sure you thoroughly understand our program, our purpose and our intent, and how we partner with you to make sure the utilization of small businesses in Broward is successful for the completion of Broward projects. Next slide. So about OESBD, about my office, small business focused. Again, Office of Economic and Small Business Development. As a service agency, we work with all of our partner agencies, and we work with a lot of our community partners. We work with our 31 municipal cities. I know today I'm going to talk about the small business program, the goal setting, and working with primes. But we also have an economic development side of this office, an international side of this office, an entrepreneurship side of this office, where we just work with businesses in general. So even as primes, keep that in mind. There's things that we might be able to aid you or assist you that has nothing to do with small businesses per se, but just on the economic development side, our office is far more inclusive than just small business. Next slide. Our goals. This is key for you to recognize as a prime contractor. It's not something someone just thought of one day or something that we're just doing. We're actually a part of the county's vision and mission as set forth by our county commissioners. So these are our goals: to create that vibrant economy with a diverse, skilled workforce, ensuring economic opportunities for all people and businesses in Broward, consistently delivering responsive, efficient, and quality services. So again, we're held to a standard by the commission through our measurements and metrics to demonstrate that these goals are being met by the utilization of this office on behalf of economic development in 31 cities, and the utilization of this office by engaging small business and county procurement, sometimes as primes and other times in conjunction with prime contractors. Next slide. And this is why we do it, in case you didn't know. 89% of the businesses in Broward County, and if you're one of my regular primes, you already know this, 31 cities in Broward County, 1,300 square miles in Broward County, 1.9 million residents in Broward County, and in case you didn't know, over 70,000 businesses, multiple industries, right here in Broward County. But with all those numbers, 89% plus of the businesses in Broward County have 20 employees or less. So no matter what your size is as a prime, we are a small business community. And that's why on that previous slide, you saw that this is a goal, this is a vision of the commission to try to have small businesses to participate in county procurement at some level, because close to 90% of all of our businesses are small. So it just makes sense for the county to do this. Next slide. A little history. Some of you have certainly been around far longer than I. Again, I've only been here 7 years, but this program goes all the way back to the minority business enterprise, minority women business enterprise. It has some challenges and some changes with the race conscious ability to have a minority or minority women business program. So that was changed around 06, 07. We then rolled into the program that we currently have as our CBE, County Business Enterprise Program. What used to be trying to average 25% of what the county procures in the utilization of small business, we now look at, in terms of the new ordinance, at least 25% of what the county now tries to procure, we try to do with small businesses. And again, that was just most recently amended in 2018, May 9th, 2018. Next slide. And this is who we are in terms of our small business program. On the local program side, some of you are aware we have a federal program, but on the local side, we look at our SBEs, our small business enterprises. First of all, this is designed as a program to spur economic development in our county. You saw those numbers. How many businesses have 20 employees or less? So to make sure we can grow the smallest of small businesses, we have an SBE certification. And again, these are for projects $250,000 or less. So many of you primes, you don't even dabble in this, but these are for my little businesses. Whenever the county is procuring a good, material, or service or product for $250,000 or less, I have a series of small businesses who are certified as SBEs. The qualifiers are the owners of those companies have a personal net worth of 1.32 million or less, not counting their primary residence. Those businesses normally have 15 employees or less. And then on the revenue side, if they're into construction services, they're averaging $3 million or less over 3 years. If they're into contractual services, $1 million or less over 3 years. And if they're into professional consulting, $500,000 over 3 years or less. If a small business submitted a certification application and they fit those thresholds, we would certify them as an SBE, small business enterprise. But as prime contractors, you're more familiar with our CBE program, County Business Enterprise. Again, similar to the SBE, they both use the SBA, Small Business Administration's personal net worth dollar value. So my CBEs are applicants whose personal net worth for the owner is also 1.32 million or less, not counting his or her home, their primary resident. For these companies, they're normally companies who have 25 employees or less. But on the revenue side, in terms of the size of the business, if in construction, they're averaging 9 million or less over 3 years. And on my other services, they're averaging 5 million or less over 3 years. So whenever we get an application that fits into this threshold, we then certify that small business as a CBE. And again, as a prime, you primarily know the CBEs. When you're looking to fulfill a county recommended goal, you're trying to identify multiple CBEs to meet that goal. So CBEs is the primary aspect of our program. Next slide. You also need to know sometimes contracts don't make their way in front of you. We also have, by our ordinance, the opportunity to do CBE reserves. We don't do much. We plan to in the future do more. But this is when I'm looking in the directory, when a county agency wants to buy a good, material, or service. If I have 4 or 5 firms who can meet all of the requirements of that procurement, and if the dollar amount from that agency's procurement falls within a threshold that's manageable for my CBEs, you'll never see it. It's called a CBE reserve. And I need to stop saying you'll never see it. You will see it, and I'll explain why in a minute. But when we reserve them, that's because we believe we have enough CBEs to go after these contracts on their own. And even if a CBE says, hey, Mr. McDonald, I can do 80% of that contract, they then have to use other CBEs to fulfill the other 20%. So the CBE reserve means the county wants the job done 100% by the CBEs. Now put a flag in that, because down the road we might be changing that to make sure at least 75 or 80% is done by CBEs. But right now, 100% of the work must be done by CBEs. That's the only time we reserve those contracts. And these have normally, or typically since I've been here, these have been contracts under 4 million. I haven't reserved any over 4 million, but most have been on an average 2 or 3 million. But you need to know that that's the CBE reserve. And what I said earlier, it's not like you won't know, because we don't want to slow the procurement process. When we put CBE reserve bids out, when purchasing put those solicitations on the street, it does allow non-CBEs to respond. We're telling you up front, we're looking for CBEs. So if we get enough responsive and responsible CBEs, that's going to be the county's focus. But sometimes, even when I do a CBE reserve, and I believe I have enough CBEs, if the CBEs don't respond, we don't want the county to have to waste time and go all the way back out for bid again to do a bid request with a goal. So the county a few years ago started allowing, even when I do a CBE reserve, we do allow non-CBEs to submit a bid, just in case my CBEs don't respond, or just in case my CBEs are not found to be responsive and responsible. A non-CBE still can respond to that bid, and we're always going to require at least a 25% goal. So I do want to make sure I'm clear. It's not that you will never see CBE reserves. It's just that the first, second, and third option is to use CBEs when we do reserves, but you are allowed to respond to those as a part of the process. In terms of goal and procurement preference, here's our goal program. Our goal program is really designed, and it's the substance, or it's the meat of what we primarily do with our primes. This is when we're trying to do at least 25%. On these contracts, these 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 million, billion-dollar contracts, $700 million contracts. That's when we're trying to do that at least 25%. One of the things that also was given to us as an opportunity, most recently from one of our commissioners, we actually call it in fun, the Geller's rule. Whenever I'm looking to set a goal, if it appears that I don't have enough small businesses to set the goal, I'm allowed up to 30 days with purchasing to go try to target and recruit some small businesses to get in on this. Because again, if a project is eligible for small business participation, you saw those numbers, 89+%, we want small businesses to participate. But there has come a day or two when at the end of the day, we got a project and we just didn't have enough small businesses to set a goal. So we might take 15 or all 30 days to see if we can target additional small businesses and get them certified. But again, the goal and the procurement preference is what we take a look at. When at the end of the day, we don't have enough small businesses to set a goal, or if a goal wasn't established, the county still affords our small businesses. Let's say we got one, or say a small business didn't engage with us when we were looking for them, but they still saw the solicitation and wanted to respond on their own anyway. When we don't establish a goal, that's when the county, if they still see a CBE later, the CBEs can compete with the primes. And there's a local preference that's given to the CBEs on the straight bids as well as the RFPs. So always understand, we try to set a goal when we can. But if we can't, or if there's a single small business and they choose to compete as a prime when there's no subcontracting opportunities, that small business will also get the preference that you see on the screen, 10% of the bid preference towards the small business, or when they're doing the RFP perspective, 5% of the lowest scoring. So our program is centered around goal and preference opportunities. Again, more opportunities that we kind of changed when we did that amendment back in May of 2018. We raised the personal net worth for the CBs and SBEs to match the SBA. It used to be 750. Now it's that 1.32 million. Again, all of our services for CBEs used to average 5 million or less. We changed the construction only to 9 million over 3 years. And at the end of the day, and I had questions about this, the compulsory liquidated damages. At the end of the day, the county has always had a program that they were serious about. And you guys know the program better than I, for those of you who've been around a decade plus. The question was, being as serious as we were about the program and the utilization of these small businesses, we had to own up as a county. we really didn't have as much bite into our agreements. And most of you can own this. I'm going to say 8 out of 10 of county prime contractors over the years have been about their business, working with this office, working with small businesses, smooth sailing. But every now and then, for different reasons, we've had some primes who didn't meet. And the question would be, was it enforced? Did we take that loose language of breach? Did we do anything? Because in the end, if it's really about the small business, then it's about the prime helping us with our small businesses. It's about the county having an office and an agency that they can hold accountable for utilizing small businesses with these primes. It's about us certifying subcontractors to be in position to be received by prime contractors to do these jobs. So when we added it all, we thought about it. And in May 9th, 2018, the county commission decided we are serious about our small business program. We are serious about making sure primes make a true commitment. We are serious about monitoring the program through the process, not at the end. Monitoring the program through the process, that it makes sense that we do begin to talk about penalties. If for whatever reason, after all of the devil in the details that we do, if we fall short. So again, that's now in all contracts going forward. I'm comfortable in saying it. The commission is comfortable in saying it because we don't believe that our primes will fall short. We actually have a process to try to assure you don't fall short. And that's that thing called MURs. You've done business with the county. You should know what a monthly utilization report is. That's the report that's going to help the prime, help the user agency, and help this office to assure that small businesses are being used, that they're being paid, and by using them and paying them, we are meeting the goal as we go. And the other part about that is that that goal through the commission's ordinance allows us to be flexible if needed, allows us to substitute subs if needed, allow us to adjust if needed. And many of you didn't know that. That's this office's job on behalf of the commission. We don't set crazy goals. We really try to use a methodology to set realistic goals. But then because sometimes things do happen, sometimes agency even reduces services. By working monthly with our primes, those are things that we can discuss. And if I need to adjust the goal as we go, I have the authority through the commission to make those adjustments. But that's the stuff we want to do during the contract as we look at it monthly. That's not what we do at the end of a contract and we recognize you didn't get there. So we're going to talk a little later more about our MURs, but that's the key. These are just some of the things that also changed in May 2018. Next slide. And all my little cute, colorful paint buckets, that's to let you know. We started this year, excluding this COVID, we started this year as a Get Certified campaign. We want to grow the number of our small businesses. But at Prime Contractors, I want to be crystal clear. I don't want to grow my small businesses for the sake of saying instead of 668, I got 1,600. I want to grow them because I need more competitive opportunities for all the projects we have rolling out where I want to grow that to 1,000 or more. But then I need to make sure 80% of my 1,000 or more are aggressively participating in county procurement. Everyone can't win. Everyone's not on your LOI, but I need to grow my small business participation by 80%. And yes, I have to find a way that at least 50% or more of the small businesses who are certified with me are not just participating, they're winning contracts. They're on your LOIs. They're becoming your subs. They're winning my reserves. They're getting my contract as SBEs. So we're crystal clear. We want to grow the number of subcontractors, CBEs, SBEs in my program, but it's not growing for the sake of growing. It's growing because there's county opportunities where more CBEs are needed. It's growing because we have projects, and I'm gonna show you later, that are underway and some that'll be coming up that dictates that I really do need to grow that number. Over the next 3 years, I need to double that number over the next 3 years, easy, because we have that many projects. So as primes, we just wanted you to know, we have small businesses that you can use. And the other part about this, as a prime, I need you to recognize you have subcontractors right now that you're extremely close with. That at the end of the day, you like their work, They do good work, they do quality work, they do on-time work with good prices. Some of your subs, based on my previous slide, fits my program criteria. You need to encourage those subs to come get certified. We want to certify your subs. In addition to folks who learn about our program and come on their own, we want to certify your subs because at the end of the day, you want to work with folks you're also comfortable with. Yes, I want you working with my certified firms. But if you're new or if you got existing contracts and you got other small businesses that you've worked with, if they fit my eligibility criteria, it behooves you and makes sense for you to encourage them to come get certified. And just for the record, our certifications are 30 days or less. We can do some certifications in 2 weeks or less, especially when there's an opportunity in front of a small business to get them to be a part of a county contract with you, the prime. So I want you to recognize that. Don't miss out on the fact that though as an office, we're trying to target more small businesses to get them certified, if you got subs you're familiar with and they fit our criteria, send them our way. Next slide. So I use the 3 Ps 2 different ways. This is what I work with my small businesses for them to understand. To truly be of value to you, a prime, I have to make sure that the small businesses understand our program. Read the ordinance. Understand why the county has a sheltered market for SBEs, 250,000 or less. Have an understanding why the county has a goal request form for contracts 250,000 or more. Understand what it is to be a CBE reserve. Understand what it is to be a part of an LOI as a letter of interest when primes are looking for subs to meet that goal. We try to make sure that our CBEs understand the program. Same is true for you, prime. I need my primes to understand the county's program. We talked about the vision, we talked about the goal, we talked about the numbers, we talked about the percentage. To help you be a better prime on behalf of the county and the utilization of small businesses, I really do need you to know this county's program. Then it's the process. I'm always telling my subs, my CBEs, my SBEs, you got to understand the process. You must understand procurement. You must understand the platform or the portal used as BidSync. You must understand before COVID, when we did these meet and greets, how it was more important for you as a sub, not just to go to a meet and greet, introduce yourself and give a business card. You needed to understand as a sub how it was important for you to have that one-on-one conversation at a meet and greet with a prime. But don't tell the prime about all the stuff you do. You need to be telling the prime how what you do values who that prime is. You need to make sure you've done some research and know something about that prime. Well, the same is true now for you primes in this virtual world. You know, I'm going to be sending more small businesses based on all these county contracts to you. You want to do whatever you can with my office as a prime to learn as much as you can about our directory and our small businesses. Before the next project or even before the next bid, you have access as a prime, not only to this office, but to our small business directory. And you know, for the most part, when you're doing a contract, there's pieces that you're going to do. And when you're looking for subs, they're broken down by NAICS code, the North American codes. So you can go to my directory right now and start deciding who's your asphalt guy, who's your electrical guy, who's your concrete guy, who's your A&E guy. So you too, as a prime, similar to my subs, need to understand the process of how the county operates. And lastly, it's the people. I always try to make sure my subs understand they need to engage this office, engage procurement, work with our user agencies, and certainly try to familiarize themselves with primes. But again, now, using this presentation, go back to the slide, I need the primes to do the same. I now need primes to recognize, again, it's not going to be a lot of face-to-face. So primes, I need you to, as people, know my office. You work with my small business specialists. My small business specialists are the ones who track your MURs. My small business specialists are the ones that when you win a contract, they send you that cute little reminder, congratulating you on the contract, reminding you who the subs are, reminding you that this is the office that's going to work with you monthly to make sure the subs are being used. We're the office if you're having any issues with the subs. People, I need my primes to understand that you have people here in this office that will work with you and navigate you through the process. Next. And contracts awarded by small businesses. This is just to give you a snapshot of from the contracts, the county award, and from where we sit as small businesses, where the majority, and it'll be on the next slide as well, our small businesses rest. What are my folks certified in? Next slide. And so for the firms offering a useful function, you see the number of ACDBE and DBE. I'll go ahead and give you that 2 seconds. That's my federal program. The county, through aviation and transit, does things that they use Department of Transportation money. When they use Department of Transportation money, I can't place my local goals, SBE, CBE. Can't do it. On the federal program, I have to follow federal guidelines, 49 CFR, Part 23 and 26. I have to use DBEs, and in the airport, ACDBEs, airport concessions, disadvantaged businesses. But for the rest, you see my CBEs, you see my SBEs, and then you see the most popular trades, those who are receiving contracts, per the activities. So this just gives you a gist of where my numbers are in terms of what percentage of my small businesses are certified in what area, in terms of what category of certification. Next slide. So you just want a contract. Here's some of the things that we're trying now to do more with you guys. Make sure you share it with your team. Call your subcontractors. Many of you do a very good job of reaching out to the subs to get that LOI so you can submit that solicitation. Many of you don't really include, if you are awarded, that sub as a part of your negotiation, or you might not keep them as abreast as they need to be as you're going through that process. Our encouragement, no mandate, keep them as involved as possible. Make sure that they're familiar with the workings of you, the workings of the county, and more importantly, what you and the county expect of them. So these are just some of the things in terms of what we believe you can do more with. And again, you always have the aid and the assistance of my office when it comes to working with the CBEs and SBEs. Next slide. Execute subcontracts. We encourage you, and I hope you're doing it anyway. No nod of the head, no shaking a hand, no, hey, on it. Do contracts with our subs. Make sure that the contracts speak to the solicitation language and the compliance and operations of our program on behalf of the subs you're now going to be working with. That's one way to assure that subs can also be held responsible for what you need from them. And more importantly, we get it. We tell this to our subs. You're held responsible to what the county wants from you. And yes, the county has a program, so they want you to utilize subcontractors. So subcontractors need to be extremely familiar with exactly what you need from them based on what the county's asking of you. We do a lot of that training for our subs, but that training comes to a point where it begins to be married when the sub is actually making sure that their agreement with you is not only locked or founded in our program, but locked and founded in what the county has you doing as a prime. Next slide. Some of the other executing, keep subcontractors informed. I've already talked about, clearly spell out procedures for change orders. We get it, and I get to say this openly. And I actually have some county agencies on this presentation today, so I say it to them face to face. We know sometimes primes, you go into this, you expecting it to be A through D. At the end of the day, it ended up being A through M. We know at the end of the day, we know the expectancies and the expediencies of the county agencies. We know that they might ask you to do a change order, you haven't really inked it. I'm crystal clear on this. Everything needs to be by process, because when it all falls out, if it wasn't by process, then you got that clash, you got that fighting. I know most of you primes got strong relationships with these project managers and these agencies, and they can ask you to do something extra, and you just flat out go ahead and do it, and you work it out later. Some of you have met with me in the last 3 years. That hasn't been working. So at the end of the day, I'm not trying to change what you do with agencies. Do what you do, because at the end of the day, I don't control them. But I'm crystal clear. You want to make sure you're dotting every I and crossing every T when you're working with our subs and there's an expectancy of change orders. You want to make sure that there's clear communication of what that expectancy is. And some of you know we've had some challenges recently where folks was asked to do something, they did it, and then later on they don't get paid. You were asked to do something, you did it, and someone said it wasn't. Hey, there's rules to be followed. These are my recommendations on how there can have a more defined, more substantive relationships between my subs and you as primes and all the things you're challenged with as a prime with the county. I have to stay in my lane. I can't speak to where you are with your agreements, your requests, and your change order with the county. But what I can tell you, as the small business director on behalf of the small businesses, I am your ally and your partner. If there's ever confusion, if you ever need our assistance, we're willing to offer that to our primes, because in the end, we have to assure that things go smoothly with our primes relevant to our small businesses. So if a prime is having a disagreement, or if a prime is having miscommunications, even with the user agencies, we want to be a part of that, because that then is going to impact what's happening with our small businesses. So again, we need everyone to take their ownership for their relationships, for their agreements, but we try to be crystal clear. We need our primes working with our small businesses based on county procedures, based on what's written and documented, because it's the best way in case something happens to try to bring it all to a resolve. So we love real good communication. We love real good agreements. We love dotted I's and crossed T's. Next slide. And getting on the same page, and that's some of the things that we really just talked about. The best thing that we can do is, if you're communicating with that sub's communicating with you, there's clear, defined expectations of that sub. If that sub knows what to expect out of you as a prime, then it's all about the quality of work. There should be absolutely no question in terms of what is expected from that prime and versus from my small business. Small business reporting, and this is what we talked about. MURs. We have to make sure through our measurements, small businesses are being used, small businesses are being paid, and small businesses, after being used and being paid, it helps you as a prime attain that goal. Remember, when we set out to do this, it's a recommended goal. When you're selected and post your negotiation, you took my goal and made it a commitment. The county expects you to meet that commitment. And I need to take time to say that again. I may say it's a 25% goal. You may end up saying that you're going to commit to 30. The day you ink that contract, it ain't about my 25 no more. You got a 30% commitment. I'm monitoring you on 30% commitment. So the utilization of my small businesses is not 25, it's not 28. It's the 30 that you committed. So we need to be crystal clear. The contract's written off of your commitment. The process of the county starts with my recommendation. So again, I need you to own the commitment, and we're going to be making sure that the small businesses can aid you in fulfilling those commitments. And iContract Central, the MUR process, is how you tell us monthly how things are going, monthly how you're using the small business, monthly how you're paying the small business, and combined with using and combined with paying, we then determine with you that the goal is being attained. Next slide. So you know this form, and if you never had a contract with the county, this is the form I'm alluding to. This is that MUR. This is what you're putting into the system. This is what you're sharing with the project manager as well as my office. This is why I might send you a communication saying, hey, I'm expecting that this month for last month, and hey, it's 15 days in, I haven't gotten it yet. Folks, the MURs are real. And again, to aid you, remember, it's through the MURs you help me to understand, hey, Mr. McDonald, I know we originally committed to 30. I know at the end of the day, that's the direction we were going. But as of last month, the user agency has removed some of the scopes. And some of those scopes happen to be scopes I was using your small businesses with. Folks, I don't need that explanation at the end of a contract. I need that when it happens. And again, to protect you, I say the same thing to the county agencies. If you change a service or a scope that's going to impact a small business, you got a chance every single month to tell us that. And for the record, we can address that right then. Yes, I'm going to encourage you that if the agency moves a scope for you to see if there's any other thing you can do with our small businesses, I should do that. I'm an advocate. I want you to always use them. But if you come back and say, well, Mr. McDonald, that's what I really needed them for, I don't have another opportunity right now, that means I got to reduce that scope. Because if the agency removes it, I now have to reduce it. And if you can't find another opportunity for my small business, you and I will be telling my small business. I'll be telling them before you. Hey, got to let you know. We know we set out on this project to do X. We know that you were hired to do that X. According to the county, they're no longer going to provide that service. We were working with the prime to see if we can find another service for you. At this time, there isn't. So I'm going to have to remove you from this service. We will work with you, prime, to achieve that. So you all need to know that. That's not something you need to be doing on your own. That's not something you want to tell me at the end after I'm sending you MUR saying that you're deficient. That's something you tell me as we go. So I need you to take a look and understand these MURs are real ways to keep us informed, to let us know the good, the bad, and the ugly. And my staff, the small business specialists who are reviewing these each month, the small business specialists that might be sending you notice to cure because they haven't gotten your MUR yet this month. These are the folks you can communicate with via phone and email and through this MUR every month. We need you to take the MUR serious because it is the document that helps you or helps me help you in case we ever have to do some adjustments. It starts with the MUR. So if I'm not hearing it in MUR, you can't come tell me about it 9 months later. I need to hear it and see it during the MURs. So self-monitoring and monitor subcontractors, again, you have the responsibility for accounting for your activities. Again, it's a commitment you made. And I need to remind you all, it goes all the way back to the solicitation. The original solicitation language told you about the small business program. The original solicitation told you about the Business Opportunity Act 2012 as amended. The original solicitation told you that you would be held responsible if awarded this contract to the inclusion of the small business program and all that it entails. And that includes the reporting, that includes the utilization, that includes the process that we do for substitute. So you have to self-monitor. You're the ones dotting the I's and crossing the T's and keeping us informed. So again, I have to stress that. Definitely communicate with your small business specialist through that monthly, not every other month, through that monthly MUR. Make sure that we know exactly what's going on. Next slide. Okay, missteps to avoid. Again, remember, we're in Florida, so there is a prompt payment law. And this goes back to what I said earlier. I don't run other county agencies, but we truly believe that we're all allies. I work good with our county agencies, and that's including accounting. So we've said this on several occasions. If for whatever reason there's issue with primes and payment, and again, I'm not overstepping my boundaries. I'm not in other folks' lane. My job through my boss and the commission is to make sure small businesses get paid. But small businesses can't get paid if the prime's not getting paid. Small businesses can't get paid if paperwork is getting held up somewhere here in the county. So primes need to know, just like small businesses, and I've said this to many of you, you can use our office. Because if small businesses are going to negatively be impacted, that's why I'm doing MURs, I need to know. I don't need to find out 3 months later that my sub hasn't been paid and the prime say, well, Mr. McDonald, they haven't been paid because I haven't been paid by the county. And again, I'm not saying this against the county. I work for the county. Someone has to dog to assure payment happens. I just selfishly, I get to openly say that, do it on behalf of small business. So if I need to help a prime who has done the work and submitted a pay app, if I need to help a prime get paid so my small business can get paid, that's what my boss and the commission wants me to do. That's not against the county. That's not for the prime. That's just the right thing for the process. So you need to understand that you can use this office when you've done everything you're supposed to. Don't get it twisted. It's not like me versus them. When you've done what you're supposed to and you got some snares and some holdups and you're working with county agencies, feel free to let this office know, because I get to say the same to the county agencies. I'm only involved, I'm only nosy because if something's happening with the prime's payment, that kills the little guy. No, I don't get to say always the prime is big and he can sustain it, pay him late. No, I don't count your pocketbook. I want you to get paid on time, because you getting paid on time gets my small businesses paid on time. So any place we can help, then let us help. Again, that moves us into the state's prompt payment issues. And at the end of the day, we have to report these. There's a state requirement for prompt payment. There's a federal requirement for those of you who are dealing with my transit and my aviation in terms of what must be done on my DVE program. So at the end of the day, we want you to know it's not made up. We want to aid, as I just said, helping you to get paid, because I need to try to make sure that these things can happen. And if they can, and again, you need to know we are trying to work with our small businesses to help them with mobilization funds and stabilization funds so that they can really go into a project feeling comfortable even about their access to capital at least 60 days in. Again, we need them to be getting paid that 15 days after you get paid or that 10 days after you get paid. So they really should be getting paid within that 40 or 45. But again, it just makes good business sense that we try to create opportunities that all of our small businesses going into these relationships can at least sustain for 60. That's just being smart. Not saying that because you're going to drag on the payment, things do happen. But again, we just want to make sure that you are aware that we're operating a program that must follow state protocol and prompt payment laws, as well as federal protocols and prompt payment laws when it comes to the federal side. Next slide. Fraud, we all get to smile because I know I'm not talking to no one out there who's intentionally defrauding the county. But I got to say it. At the end of the day, you have to own up to what you're saying in those MURs. You have to own up to whatever you're saying in those written communications. At the end of the day, you got to make sure you're meeting my program activities. So are my subs. You got to make sure that you are aligned as a prime with my subs in their participation. At the end of the day, you got to make sure that you're not using my subs as a pass-through. My subs are far more than just labor. Remember, you are doing a committed goal with businesses, not labor, businesses. So we must remember that we are, on the record, looking for red flags. We are trying to ensure that small businesses are being used. We are trying to make sure that the prime is held accountable for the commitment they made to the county when they got the contract. So again, that's not being negative. That's just simply saying if we're serious about the utilization of small business, we're also serious about making sure my small businesses, as well as my primes, are not attempting to defraud Broward County. So that's important to know. Next slide. Assumptions and misinformation, and I hear it all the time. As a matter of fact, I just had a good call on this past week with the county's mayor. You know, folks, at the end of the day, small business is not like this anchor, holding down a boat or holding down a sail. It's who we are. So again, we won't apologize for the fact that right now on the record, the county has an ordinance until they change their mind. At least 25% of what we do with eligible services will be small business. So it's not about small businesses take too long. It's not about they don't do good quality work. It's not about the small businesses that charge too much. Just being open with you, not trying to hear it. At the end of the day, that's why we like fine. And I mentioned earlier, some of you have identified and some of you can identify folks who you do work with, who you do like, who do quality work, the payment's right. If they're eligible, get them certified. But there is a requirement right now this day for primes to work with our small businesses. So we also say the same to our agencies. We're just not entertaining reasons, assumptions, and misinformation about small businesses. And many of you, and I do thank you for this, that's why I get to own it. Many of you have told me you've started as small yourself. So at the end of the day, you wouldn't want no one putting that tag on you as a way not to use you. So we don't allow it either. But we are open to the things that are on the screen. We're open to those conversations. If you're really having troubles with my small businesses, if you're having trouble identifying small businesses, if small businesses are drawing up your numbers or reducing your quality of work, yes, you need to tell the county. Starting with me. If you don't want to tell a project manager, tell me. But just as blanket statements, we don't accept it and we don't buy it. We're going to grow more small businesses. We're going to increase the number of small businesses, and small businesses will be participating on county projects until 9 commissioners change that. So we just want to be open about that. But again, if you are having real issues, or if some of this misinformation or assumptions is actually accurate, you need to tell me that. So I just can't hear it in a whisper. I need to see it. I need to know it. And again, we can probably address it with you. Confrontation versus collaboration is just the ideal of us trying to say we really do work together. Knowing things on the front end is always best. Knowing things on the front end is always best. That's collaboration versus confrontation. And we give you as a prime the opportunity for collaboration because monthly, we're asking you for an MUR. You can pick up the phone before your MUR. You can pick up the phone in between 2 MURs. Monthly, bare minimum, we're asking for you to keep us informed of what's happening with you and that sub. So again, we believe in the collaboration, and it's better than the confrontation. Next slide. Compliance. Now, my staff wrote this wrong. You see that? So I'm not even going to fake it. They say compliance is your friend. Compliance isn't your friend, but compliance is your partner. We are truly partners between the county agency deciding that they want to procure a good material or service, between the county agency deciding to go out for bid with purchasing, between the county having a program where we have the opportunity to place a goal on that bid opportunity. Broward Office of Economic and Small Business Development, once you win that contract, and you've already identified a small business or multiple small businesses to use, our compliance is your partner. That monthly utilization report is that document for this partnership that lets us know, again, small businesses have been identified, small businesses are being used, small businesses are being paid, and by using them, Mr. McDonald, and paying them, we're meeting the goal. So compliance is your partner, and you need to look at us that way. You need to reach out to us if there's any issues, once again, good, bad, or indifferent, when working with our small businesses. Each of you have a small business specialist to work with if you win a county contract. So use them. Next slide. Notice to cure. Some of you have gotten a notice to cure. And we send notice to cure for multiple reasons, but let's just align it with that MUR. Folks, if we tell you at the end of each month, within the 5th or the 10th day of the next month, I need your last month's MUR, folks, I gotta have it. I don't want that 2 months later. I need it every month. And yet, for those who just got a contract, we haven't even started work yet, well, then start learning the form. Write it down and simply say, hey, we ain't even got the notice to proceed. My small business specialist is genuine and serious about talking to you about that. We get it. And we know most of the time it takes 3 to 4 months for the mobilization to get ready to start a project. But when you get going, folks, we need that monthly utilization report every month. You will get a notice to cure from this office. When you haven't sent me that MUR, you will get a notice to cure from this office. If you have given me an action plan and you're not following it, you would get that notice to cure if you're not meeting the goal that's now a commitment that you made. You need to understand that. So the notice to cure ain't the end of the world. Some people might call it as a shot across the bow, just simply saying, hey, maybe you forgot, maybe you got busy this month, or hey, I just need to know what's going on. That's your communication, and it is official. That's your communication on the record. When something's not aligning with the MUR or when I'm not getting the MUR. So when you get a notice to cure, it ain't the end of the world, but it is that reminder. Maybe you forgot to send me that report. Hey, you and I've talked about it the last 3 months. This goal is still low. What's actually going on? Hey, maybe you need to send me an action plan and show me what your next steps are. Hey, maybe it's something you forgot to tell me. This notice of cure is an official communication, just saying to you, I need you to address this. And again, it ain't the end of the world. This next slide, you can move it. This becomes the brink of the end of the world. On the next slide, change it. See that notice of violation? You and I don't want to get to NOVs. NOVs mean that even after a notice to cure, after communications after a notice to cure, after some written communications and emails after a notice to cure, you got to get a notice of violation, because that means even the things in a notice to cure you didn't do, or you didn't respond to my notice to cure. So all of that business friendliness goes out the window with the notice to cure when you get a notice of violation. And again, we're not trying to get to the end of contracts to realize your commitment is not going to be met. Why? Because you're doing MURs all right throughout the process. We're going to interrupt that sometime during the process. You're not getting to the day that the project's 10% are remaining and you're 12% off of your commitment. That's never happening again. So if a notice of violation comes, it's because clearly as a prime, the things that you're committed to based on your agreement with the county, the things you committed to based on this small program, the things that I've asked of you based on this program, you're flat out not doing. That's the only way you're going to get a notice of violation. But I believe with that collaboration instead of confrontation, I believe with that regular MUR, I believe with you understanding the program more, I believe with you recognizing that I'm your partner, not your enemy, I believe that with direct communication with my staff, you and I as primes on county projects, we got to remember that, on county projects, we never get to notice a violation. We never get to notice a violation because any issues you may be having, or any concerns about the sub, or any questions or uncertainty about my program, you handle that through the process. We don't wait to the end no more. And I got to tell you, 2013 when I got here, that's what we were doing. We were waiting to the end. And all of it's not your fault. Some of it was the fact that my staff weren't following up even on these MURs. I want to be crystal clear. My staff need to send you those notice to cures when they're not getting MURs, and they shouldn't be sending it 5 months after they didn't get it. They should be sending it to you every following month because their job is to follow up on MURs every month. Even if they don't, your commitment is to do a MUR every month. So if you as a prime is handling your business, my staff is handling their business, you and I will never get to a communication from me that says notice of violation. So that's why we want to be open about that. I have no intent, the commission has no intent of getting to the NOV, but it has to be a process. Because in the end, sometimes, very few, sometimes, things don't go as we planned, even with all these procedures and opportunities to address them, and we have to get here. So you need to know that that's the step you and I don't ever want to get to, this NOV, because I would have spoken to you. You would have spoken with my staff prior to the NOV. So here's just a snapshot of some of the projects that are underway, some of the projects that are going to be starting by the end of this calendar year or going into the beginning of the year. And this is one of the reasons why we're doing this presentation. I need you to understand the program. I need you to understand the process. I need you to work with my staff, which are known as the people, because when it's all said and done, even with COVID, folks, even with COVID, county contracts are going to roll out. More contracts are going to roll out on the county side because we're going to have to jumpstart our community. And the county projects are going to be ways to do that. So you need to know as prime contractors that we are still going to be working, setting goals, hopefully for you to win contracts with commitments and use our small businesses during COVID and certainly coming out of COVID. Next slide. So, penny for surtax. The reason why the penny for surtax is extremely important, and it might not be known to all of you, but Broward County had passed that surtax back in 2018. That means we are 7% sales tax. And again, let's get our mind off this COVID. But in a good day, we're collecting about $355 million a year, every year for the next 30 years when this started last year. The whole point you need to understand is that not only are we doing this for transportation operations, transportation services, infrastructure throughout the 31 cities, in the future of rail, all of those projects have an opportunity for the next 30 years or the next 29 years now to be spending up to about $355 million a year. Most recently, about $150 to $200 million was just approved by the commission 2 weeks ago and the oversight board. You need to know that because it just won't be county projects. For the penny for surtax, the county commission and the oversight board has also approved a 30% goal. So for those infrastructure projects, most which will be done by the 31 cities, they now have a 30% goal on those projects, at least. So you may be working with small businesses. You may be working with cities you're familiar with. But if cities start putting out bids that are labeled surtax, you need to know that city is now going to be using my program for the first time to fulfill surtax obligations. Wink, wink. That might advantage you if you happen to be a prime who's familiar with the small business program and you see a city's procurement for the first time talking about a project and there's a small business goal. That means that you would be able to share information because you work with the county's program. So we call this whole campaign 30 for 30. And at the end of the day, it's 30% on eligible county projects with the cities that fall up under that transportation operation, transportation services, infrastructure, and the future of rail. And what this really means, approximately $53 million a year. Because again, we don't set a goal on everything. The county for transportation is going to buy buses. Well, small businesses don't sell buses, small businesses don't manufacture buses, so I could never put a goal on that. But when we looked at the whole $355 million, we recognized at least half of that every year could have a goal. So if I took 170 or 177 million, which is half of that 355, and if I say that at the end of the day, there's a 30% goal, that means at least 53 million every year from this year going forward could be spent with small businesses. That's what we're excited about. We're excited that the cities, in addition to the county, over the next 29, 30 years, will be doing these projects, and at least 53 million every year based on the money spent can go to those small businesses in Broward. That's what's key. Next slide. County program and future initiatives. Many of you have seen county project and you saw WIP, the Workforce Investment Program. And that's just the idea that if you win a county contract and it's now going to require you to hire, go back to the slide. If you win a county contract and it's going to require you to hire some new employees. If you win a county contract and you get everybody going about your business. But if you win a county contract and you got to hire some new employees, Then you have to use our WHIP protocol to try to find those new employees. The apprenticeship program is relatively new. It's the idea that the county is going to be moving forward, coming out of all this COVID mess, that on our construction projects, $5 million or more, we're going to have this expectancy that 12% of that labor is performed by apprentice. So that means some county primes are going to be winning contracts, and a portion of those future contracts, you're going to need to team up with the apprentice in the county for certified programs to put 12% of those hours into that project. And my team up Broward was just the idea that in 2018 going into 2019, we do recognize, and some of you primes know this, and thank you, some of you actually helped us launch our pilot. We get the fact that the best tutoring, mentoring, developing for small businesses, we can offer a little, but there's more help, more assistance, more technical advances when primes give back to little guys. So we just got through with a pilot program that was quite successful, and we plan to be moving forward down the road with introducing to the county a full-fledged program for mentor protege. So these are future initiatives and programs. Next slide. So again, the devil in the detail for the workforce investment. This is what's always reviewed. That's not new. For the last 5 years, if a project was crossing this desk, at the same time we looked at that project for a small business goal, this office also looked at the project for workforce investment. So many of you have seen your document saying workforce investment, which simply meant if you needed to hire someone, you had to follow this process for 5 days. Next slide. These are the links you need for the workforce investment program. Again, this entire presentation will be placed on our website, so you can come back to this. But again, workforce investment is not new. It's something that if you've won a contract over the last 4 to 5 years and a workforce investment was a part of it, you then should have been following this protocol. I get to say it that way because many of you may have not been. You now need to know that's going to be just as strongly monitored as the monthly utilizations on small business. So here's a link where you can find out more about the workforce investment, as well as our partner, CareerSource Broward, who also has the list and the database of everyone seeking a job. Next slide. Construction apprenticeship program. The key thing here is you can read the ordinance. You can go to that link and read the ordinance, and you can go to our website page and understand more about the apprenticeship program. That was the key. Again, this is an initiative that has already been approved, and it's actually going to go into play 60 days after we come out of all of this reopening of COVID. So this one is just about ready. But again, the county wants to come out of COVID first before we actually initiate it or activate it. Next one. And that's just more information. I already told you about the 12% labor. Next slide. And the mentor protege, again, we just completed a pilot. It was a very successful pilot. We got good participation from primes, good participation from our subs. We've since then taken an assessment, got an evaluation, got good, bad, and ugly information. Now I've created that into a report. Now we're looking to work with the county agencies and county administration to eventually sometime at the end of the year or early next year, make a recommendation to the county how to go forward with a full-fledged program. But you'll hear more about that next slide. And you can see all of the information on the Team Up Mentor Protege program, Team Up Broward. You can get the information of our contact people who's responsible for that. And again, always, if you ever want to aid in the development of our small businesses, even before we launch this, let us know. Many of you have been super about not only giving back, doing far more than just using our small businesses as goal requirements and commitments. Many of you have really been working to develop them, and that's a plus. It helps the county end up with better businesses, not just small, better businesses. Next slide. And the ordinance. You heard me talk about the Broward Opportunity Act 2012 as last amended or recently amended May 9th, 2018. This is where you can find that ordinance. This is where you can find the A through the Z about our program. I know we're not going into Q&A today, but with this ordinance, with the things that I've said, after reading that, you got questions, and that's an open invitation. I want you to reach out to me directly or reach out to your small business specialist, because it is best at this point. Any questions or concerns or uncertainty you have about the program, again, group sessions are good, virtuals are good, but this is something you need your one-on-one on. And to be crystal clear, we can tell you nothing no different than the others because we only are going by the things written in those links. That's what's key. My staff can't make nothing up. We have to follow the ordinance and the administrative code that gives us the day-to-day to complete and fulfill the ordinance. That's why we wanted you to have these links. In case you've never had them before, you deserve the right to have those links, to have that ordinance, to understand our program, understand our process, and learn more about me and my staff as the people to help you as primes be successful. So be crystal clear. The county's program openly isn't changing. It's a small business program that 2 years ago was tweaked to say at least 25, not an average of 25. So as a prime, please understand when user agencies are sending me goal request forms because they want to procure something, my goal starts at 25. Some of you can attest there has been goals at 10, 15, and 19, and 20 because we also being realistic and honest about it. Even the ordinance that says at least 25. I don't stick 25 if it's really not a 25% opportunity. So we work with the agencies to make sure that we're being genuine and realistic about it. And again, if I assign you a 25 or if you commit to a 30 or 40 and we're going through the process and it comes a day that you see you won't be able to meet that 30 or 40, it's through the MURs and direct communication with this office, we can also amend that. So I ask you, don't fear when you see a 35 or 40, because that means if you ever see it in a solicitation, first of all, you need to recognize the user agency who's buying it, along with this office, has already agreed. But at the end of the day, if it can't be achieved, it's your responsibility to let me know. If a user agency is pulling back services and goods that you thought you were going to use for a small business, it's your responsibility. That's why you're doing an MUR every month. Your responsibility to let me know. And yes, in case you didn't know, and I found this out from a couple of firms I spoke with earlier this year, they weren't aware that they could come back to let us know, you do know, Mr. McDonald, the user agency changed the scope. You do know they pulled away some of the scopes that was going to be done by the subs that I had picked. They had no idea that they could tell us that. Yes, you can tell us that. And again, to defend them, to defend you as primes, my user agency should have told me that. And again, I got user agencies on this call now because, again, I'm getting ready to go around the county later this summer to speak with every agency to make sure that they get the same presentation again. This is about allies. This is about creating a team to complete county projects and utilizing small businesses because, folks, I have to keep some of those funds home. You do know about that expending of the dollar in the community. It just makes sense. And now that I got this surtax going and 31 cities have to use my small businesses, that's more opportunity for businesses and money to stay home, for folks to get hired locally, pay their rent, pay their mortgage, go to the grocery store, go to the gas station. We need our economy to grow, and we have a chance to aid that by getting quality work done in the county. And whether the prime is here or not, making sure small businesses who are here participate in the work. Folks, that's the program. That's not only the spirit and the intent of the program, that's actually the rule of law based on that new ordinance of our program. So again, I want to thank you for joining me today. That's my contact number. Some of your peers will tell you, I will take your call. I will take your email. Prior to COVID, I would take that one-on-one meeting, but you and I can do a Zoom. We can do a Skype. We can do whatever my staff says we have to have that communication, or old-fashioned phone call. I'll take it. But with that, intentionally, no disrespect, we didn't want to do the Q&A on this part. Some of you did the chats, and we will answer all of those questions because I want to encourage you to look at this slide, but more importantly, look at the ordinance, read our program for what you know and didn't know, and based on you as a prime in a business yourself, your questions are unique and special to you. Some others can also learn from, but they start or originate with you. I need you to call me directly. I'll call your small business specialist to get those questions answered. That's the key. So with that, I want you to have a great Monday, have a great week, have an upcoming great 4th. Stay safe, wear your mask, social distance, and on behalf of Broward County, thank you for helping us complete county projects. And more importantly, thank you for helping us complete county projects and the utilization of Broward County small businesses. Thanks. Have a good day.